Number 16. There's millions of homes beyond the shadow inventory. Even if we somehow get past the gut of existing and shadow inventory, there are millions more beyond that. There are homeowners that have simply stopped paying their mortgages and that they have not been foreclosed upon, even though they should. I have many members who have not paid their mortgages in years. Some haven't even been contacted. They pay their property taxes and utilities. These homes tend to be on the lower end in undesirable areas. They also seem to be very upside down. These people draw strength away from the renter's market. If they are not evicted, they don't need to rent your property. There are also strategic defaulters that purposely don't pay their mortgages even though they can. They make the cold, calculated decision to not pay because they are upside down and they know that the banks will not take a bath on the property. So they live there for free and maintain the property for the bank to foreclose upon them one day. Number 17. We still have another year of mortgage resets. And we're not done yet. Beyond the existing, beyond the shadow, beyond the as of yet to be foreclosed, we have millions that will fall into default as the mortgages reset and they lose their job in an ever-worsening economy. You might remember that this housing mess all got started because people got over their heads with real estate, but also the mortgages. People with no jobs or income now had exploding mortgages that reset at double the payments. The adjustable arms in Alt-A's are still coming due, and the properties are worth a lot less, and people's financial and job situations are much worse. This, coupled with stricter lending, is a potent combination. Number 18. The MERS monster. The Mortgage Electronic Registration System is a scheme cooked up by the banksters to slice and dice huge pools of mortgages into tranches so that they can resell the pools of mortgages all over the world. This is a huge problem since there is now no clear title of the properties. Banks cannot foreclose upon the properties in default. Would you feel comfortable buying a property from a bank knowing that millions of mortgages are involved in this mess? You may wake up to find that the property that you thought is a steal is actually somebody else's property. This mess can only be fixed by some huge act of Congress or the destruction of the dollar. Number 19. Much of the paperwork that was done very wrong. I knew some of the guys that went into the mortgage business and made huge money. One guy in particular couldn't even fill out a purchase order for a car. He left me and went on to making $500,000 a year as a mortgage broker. I would bet you every single mortgage that he wrote was not disclosed properly or was not documented properly. When times are good, buyers turned a blind eye because they wanted the American dream. Now that dream has turned into a nightmare, and there's a huge mess to clean up. There are now rumors that banks are now voluntarily reducing mortgages by huge percentages. While this may sound good, I'm sure that there's a big hook. My guess is that without clear title, these banks are trying to get clear title to the property so it establishes their clear ownership. I would think twice before you take this gift. Number 20. Tougher lending standards means less buyers. Credit requirements are tougher as banks seek to sober up their balance sheets. They require more money down and are more stringent in their lending. Nearly 27% of all mortgage applications are rejected now. Also, there are mortgage caps that are now in place where banks won't lend past $625,000. Number 21. The bigger is better generation is scared. The boomers are known to be the me generation, as they sought to have the biggest and best. Bumper stickers like "He who dies with the most toys wins" was very prescient. Once, boomers wanted the McMansion, the summer home, and a few rental properties to pay for their retirement. Now that they have lost everything in the stock and housing bubble, it seems like it's too late for a second chance. Without this generational demand, it's going to take years to fill the massive glut of homes we built. We are going to see American ghost towns again. Number 22. The generation below them is broke. If boomers are scared and downsizing, there must be a generation below that will pick up the slack as they grow, right? My generation's destroyed. Not only were we latchkey kids, we were told to embrace debt by our fearless baby boomer parents. After all, what worked for them should work for us. There is now an unprecedented $1 trillion in student loan debt chained to my generation. Thanks to George Bush, this debt can never be gotten rid of through bankruptcy. So here you have a generation with $20,000 to $250,000 worth of debt before they earn one penny in the real world. Never mind the credit card, auto, and home debt. This debt is going to keep my generation from starting families and having disposable incomes. Many are just getting by right now, but wait until the next shock comes. If this debt is holding back families from having kids, this acts also as a further throttle to the growth of long-term housing trends. Number 23. Multi-generational housing is coming back. I believe that families should be moving back in together. Not only does this make sense financially, it makes sense emotionally. We are going to be going through some very tough times, and we need to have a strong family to rely upon. This trend will leave a lot of unnecessary homes in the market as sons, daughters, grandparents live together once again. Number 24, obsolete housing. Many of the huge homes will simply become abandoned. The neighborhood in New Jersey where I grew up had abandoned beautiful old homes that were once owned by millionaires of the 1900s. During the 70s, many of them were abandoned or ill-maintained as they became uneconomical. During the boom of the 90s, they were snapped up at cheap prices and completely renovated. Now, with maintenance and property taxes rising, these homes once again will become uneconomical. Number 25, obsolete towns. The value of properties and areas has a lot to do with the companies that provide jobs. In Cleveland, many of the jobs that have left a huge hole in the economy. If cities and towns cannot keep their businesses, they are doomed. All along the Rust Belt, you can see this very clearly. Now, many of the towns that went up during the housing booms are the ones that are going to be the biggest bust. Some cities in Florida have been estimated not to come back to previous highs for close to 2 generations. Can you imagine paying $45,000 a year in property tax on a house that lost half of its value? Number 26. Possible illegal immigrant exodus. History has shown that foreigners tend to take the brunt of frustration of a populace during extreme economic conditions. We already have a lot of tension on the border with illegal immigrants. When the economy heads south again, the illegals may head south of the border as the opportunities get slim and social pressure mounts. Number 27. Foreign investment exodus. Right now, many foreigners are snapping up land on the cheap. Brazil and China have been making a lot of noise lately with their purchases. If I'm warning Americans about how bad it's going to be in American real estate, that should be double for foreign investors. You see how quickly our nation declares war and seizes or freezes assets. Just look at Libya. I strongly believe that we are going to see another war soon. In this scenario, all foreign assets would be seized. Even if that doesn't happen, taxes could be raised or many other things could affect the value of that property. Number 28. Capital flows east, not west. We are also seeing a political, financial, and eventually a military power shift to Asia. The best and brightest came to America because there was opportunity. Now capital is exiting the Anglo-American Empire and heading to Asia. This shift to power will affect property values as real money would rather be in Hong Kong or Shanghai rather than New York or London. Some of the best minds are purposely not living in America, and this trend will continue. Number 29. The most important factor in the housing market is jobs. We are in a death spiral for jobs. We have had our manufacturing gutted and sold overseas by the elite for them to make a quick bonus. Do you remember Ross Perot and his giant sucking sound?
To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25, that's assuming you've been in business for a long time, you've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element, making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
He said until the price of labor is on par with the slave labor in other countries, jobs will never come back. It is sad that we did not listen to him back then. The other factor is 70% of the economy is a consumer economy. This is a massive malinvestment in capital. How much consuming will there be when the dollar is destroyed? How many jobs out there serve no real purpose in a paradigm based off of real assets? If you are in banking, sales, or work for the government, chances are you are not an integral part of the economy. We need engineers, farmers, mechanics, and people with real skills to do real things. Number 30. Even when jobs come back, it will not be good for housing. We have grown up with the American dream of instant millionaires and easy credit. This new paradigm will be much slower and much more grounded. Gone will be the speculative excesses of easy credit. In the new paradigm, lending rules of yesteryear will be the rules of the future. Big money down, strong job, and personal references. This will hopefully lead to a more rational prices in housing. Jobs may come back one day, but it will probably be generations before we get through the speculative insanity of the housing bubble. This video has been mostly focused on investment real estate, but most of you only own your home. If you own a home in an urban area, I recommend that you get out while the music's still playing. Suburban areas will be much safer, but not much. If you are in a good area, I recommend that you do not pay off your mortgage even if you can. Borrowing money at 4% for 30 years is an absolute steal. Use that money to buy real assets that are now returning 20+% a year. You can pay off the mortgage with worthless dollars later. I also recommend that people buy in an area that is near water and food. Owning a home is much more desirable than renting during a financial crisis. Most rentals are near other desperate people. Having your own castle to defend is vital to surviving a collapse. Being evicted during a collapse is a very dangerous experience. And just remember the 3 most important rules of real estate: location, location, location.